to get your thoughts on the news that broke, which let's just act like this is the future. Way back, this broke a while ago. Is your boy Darius Garland and the San Antonio Spurs being interested in him? What? Okay, so I know for a fact, okay, because you're a smart person, okay. I know for a fact you would take Darius Garland, like you would want Darius Garland for the Spurs, like.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, so that's the first step. All right, second step, and this is the big step. What would you be willing to give up for Darius Garland? And yeah, so just players, draft picks, whatever. Like the absolute most. Not what you can get away with, but like the most.
Probably more than most people, honestly.
Okay, what's up?
I mean, to me, I'd give them Keldon, Malachi. They can have pick 8. I'd give them the Chicago pick, and then you can throw them that Hornets protected pick too.
Okay, so here, actually, let me do a poll. Actually, let's do this. You trade for Darius. Okay, so I'm actually completely agree with you. I actually gone farther, I think, than you, because I possibly would give up that 4th and 8th if it is true. I know this would be super risky, but if it is true that Ron Holland could slip out of the lottery, I mean, one thing that would be really cool is if the Spurs could manage to trade up somehow with all those second round picks we have, second round galore. But I don't know if that's possible. But maybe in this draft it would be. Because 2025 is a better draft. So I would be willing to give up the 4th, the 8th, and the Chicago's next year. And then the Hornets, I'm cool with that one too, but that doesn't convey. I just don't know if that's enough. I guess that's a question too I have for you. Do you think that that's enough with what you put forward? You said the 8th, Chicago, Hornets, Keldon, Malachi. You think that's enough?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what they would deem enough. It's tough. It just depends on how they value, and that's the thing with this is you're going in blind. But I mean, to me, Garland is already better than what you're hoping Dillingham becomes.
Yeah.
It's funny because I see a lot of people talk about Garland's too small and all this. Well, he's bigger than Dillingham is.
Yeah, Dilly's like 6'1".
I think he weighed 160 pounds when they weighed him, which is tiny.
Yeah. Oh, and yeah, defensive wise, he's a better defense. He does everything better. Actually, I mean, I know, obviously him being older, he's gonna have better skill sets, being in the NBA a little bit longer. But defensively, I think he's better than him too. 1.3 steals per game.
Yeah, I mean, he's not a great defender. I'm not going to sit here and act like Garland's locking people up or anything. And,
no.
The steals,
the bar
steals are a lot of those, like, gets in the lane and gets something like that. He's not like a huge pickpocket or anything.
The bar is low. I'm just comparing him to Dilly.
Oh, yeah. But, I mean, Garland's like 6'1", 190-some pounds. He's quick and all that kind of stuff. That's the thing. I mean, yes, I know Dillingham can develop and all that, but I think you're basically, if you draft Dillingham, if you're looking at him at 4 or 8, you're basically hoping for a player that ends up like Garland. And yeah. I mean, I think Garland is being undervalued a lot right now just because of what happened this season. And I mean, he had a freaking broken jaw injury. The guy lost like 12 pounds and had to kind of relearn things and work on stuff. I mean, and he still came out and put up decent numbers.
It's funny that you say that because someone in the chat just asked a question, and I think that this is a pretty decent segue. But before I get into that question that they just asked, let's go ahead and stop this poll. Let's see what yeah, we can end it. That was quite a few votes. So I said, would you trade for Darius Garland? And as far as percentage wise, we had 67% people say yes. 32% said no. Now somebody asked this question. This is a good question, and I'll answer it first, and then I'll pass it off to you. They said, would you rather have Garland versus Trey? Who would you take? Contextually, I'm taking Garland only because right now it seems like the Atlanta Hawks might be asking for much more. And if I can hold on to the Atlanta Hawks, I mean, it's a big if, but if I can hold on to the Atlanta Hawks picks and still get him, I think that that's a W, like undeniable W. But I don't think we'll be able to get away with that with Trae Young. And as far as like talent gap, I mean, I think Trae Young's better, but Garland, we don't have to have like a superstar caliber, talent for us to be a playoff team. I mean, we have Wemby, we have our guy, but Garland, I think it's good enough at that spot. I mean, he's a really great talent. So contextually, I would take Garland.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of in the same boat. I mean, I think Trae Young's a better player, and if it were both equal scenarios, I'd be like, yeah, duh, Trae.
Yeah.
But I just think given the situations and how things have gone, yeah, I think you can, if what they say is true, that the value is lower on Garland and you can get him for something cheaper, yeah, I would rather take that than trading away 4 or 5 picks to get Trae Young and all that. Plus, Garland's on a cheaper contract and all that kind of stuff. There's context to it. Trae's absolutely the better player, but I think, like you said, with the context, I'd say Garland.
Yeah, Garland's younger too, right? How old is Garland? 23?
I think he's a little bit older than that. I think he's like 24, about to be 25. Let me see.
Okay, so it doesn't really matter then. So
yeah, he's 24.
Oh, okay, yeah, they're the same age, just about. So.
Yeah, but he won't turn 25 until January of this coming year.
Oh, okay, yeah. Trae Young turns 26 in a few months. All right. Well, yeah. So, good question. So, yeah. So I guess both of us on the same page there. I think we both would give up quite a bit. Do you think my like 4th and 8th is too much though?
2 top 10s is a lot. Excuse me. A lot.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you can get away with that and none of our picks in 2025 going, I mean, I'd at least consider it.
Okay.
I'm not going to turn down anything without looking at it. And honestly, I think Garland is going to end up being better than anybody that comes out of this draft right here. So, like, you kind of got to weigh, do I want to get 2 of these players or a sure thing here? And, yeah, it is still early in our rebuild, but it's time where you got to ask these tough questions. Do you want to pick someone this year? Do you want to add a solid proven piece? And so, I mean, it's a tough question, but it's one you got to ask.
Yeah. Somebody said Trae Young and Holland or Salon. I mean, come on. Obviously Holland.
Yeah. Now, I'll say this about Salon. Out of all the, like, raw project players, he's the one I can see people liking the most because he's the one that it feels like his good things that happen on the court are not just luck when it happens to him. It feels like it's a result of him actually improving things rather than just doing the same thing and getting lucky. But God, man, he is so raw.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys that I think he's, 2 to 3 years away from really, really being anything close to an NBA player. And I don't know if that's the kind of guy we really want to go after anymore. Now that they may, you never know. The Spurs have done it before, so we'll have to see.
I feel like you do that when you're already pretty established. I don't know, man. It just seemed like with the Spurs, I guess it's 2, ends of the spectrum here. You can go after certain guys like Devin Carter that I think is pretty sure thing once he gets to the NBA, but ceiling isn't that high. But he could be a role player, but he seems like somebody you just put on a team as like icing on the cake. Like, okay, you add him and you already established squad. And then Salon is one that he is going to have to cook up for a while, maybe in the G League, which I guess is still where I guess this would be the time to do it. I mean, with such a young team, but at 8, that's wild. That's tough, especially if the rumor is true that Holland could be available there. Castle could possibly be available. I don't know if I would do it. That's wild. But yeah. Anyways,
it's also just I don't know. I think Wembanyama has come along a lot faster than anybody anticipated. I mean, towards the end of the year he was doing kind of what I expected towards the end of next year. and all that. And not that I'm saying, oh, trade away everything and go grab something and let's go for it right now. We're not ready for that quite yet. But
Yeah.
I don't know that taking a huge swing like that is really something we want to do anymore. You know, if we hadn't gotten Wemby, sure, let's try it. But
Yeah. You don't really have to. All right. Well, let's see. Moving on.